They say your first love changes you. It's not just about the butterflies or the stolen glances. It's about the way someone can make you feel seen, cherished, and alive. I met him in the most ordinary way, a coffee shop on a rainy afternoon. He was sitting by the window, a book in one hand and a pen in the other. I didn't know it then, but that moment would change everything. His name was Alex. He had this way of looking at me like I was the only person in the room. We talked for hours that day, about everything and nothing. And when he smiled, I felt something I'd never felt before, a spark, a connection, a promise of something more. The first time he held my hand, it was like the world stopped. We were walking home after a movie, the streets quiet and the air warm. His fingers brushed against mine, and then he laced them together. It was simple, but it felt like everything. That night, he kissed me. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It was soft, tender, and full of something I couldn't quite name. His lips were warm, and his hands were gentle, like he was afraid I'd disappear if he held me too tightly. And in that moment, I knew I was falling for him. The first time we made love, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't like the movies or the books. It was real. It was messy and awkward and beautiful all at once. He looked at me like I was the most precious thing in the world. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice trembling. And when I nodded, he kissed me like it was the first and last time all at once. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And in that moment, I felt something I'd never felt before, a sense of belonging, of being truly seen and loved for who I was. His touch was gentle, his words were soft, and his eyes never left mine. It was like he was memorizing every part of me, and I was doing the same. Afterward, we lay there in the quiet, his arms around me and my head on his chest. I could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong, and I realized something: I wasn't scared anymore. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. I felt loved. He didn't say much, but he didn't have to. The way he held me, the way he looked at me, it said everything. And in that moment, I knew I'd never be the same. He wasn't just my first love. He was my first everything. They say your first love changes you. And it's true. Alex didn't just give me my first kiss or my first touch. He gave me my first taste of what it means to be truly loved. And even though we're not together anymore, I'll always carry that with me. What about you? What was your first love like?